Thank you, broski, for joining me. Happy Mother's Day.
Guess same goes for you.
Couldn't couldn't think of a better person to spend it with, honestly.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, no, thank you for coming on the potty. I think both of us have found out about each other through the same means, right? Through Beau.
Yeah. B?
B, sorry. I'm
Wait,
in
maybe
Melbourne,
I'm
so we
wrong.
we pronounce
I,
things differently. It is B. It
well,
is B. No, you're
it's
probably
B?
right.
Okay.
Yeah. And I guess the question I have for you right off the bat is what do you want from this potty that you didn't get from their potty? What did you guys talk about?
I feel like on the B Jump Up podcast we nerded out crazy style, and it was the most similar interest person I've spoken to.
In terms of talking about what you do, your stuff is really taking off at the moment, and it's always great to see. I don't know if you would classify the world. Is it called Neo Gondwana? Am I pronouncing that, or am I butchering
Yeah,
that too?
I came up with that recently when I was going camping.
Yeah. What is if that's New Gondwana? What's Old Gondwana?
Well, I think I was trying to think like um I want to open up the possibilities for what the world could be. And I think by making it set in the future, like post-apocalypse, but not even post-apocalypse, like future millions of years, evolutionary
Hmm.
future of what it's like a new supercontinent.
Right.
Yeah.
That's come across on the potty before. I actually wrote a song about like a supercontinent, like a Pangea, but that
Yeah.
was pre, that's like factual. That's what we used to be. You're talking about the future where it all joins up again.
Yeah, I'm kind of inspired by like the album Polygon Land
Well,
by
that's what I was
Vincent.
gonna say. Who came up with it first, you or Giz?
Yeah, and then there's where I grew up, like northern New South Wales, there's a lot of old rainforests which were part of the Gondwana supercontinent, and also the Max, the cartoon, the Max is
Yeah.
yeah.
It reminds me a lot of just the way that civilization is laid out in like a Mad Max movie, where there's vast stretches of nothingness. In your case, it's grass and mountains and
I
sky.
the grass, I need to just get better at drawing forests. I've had them out in the open a lot, but I'm gonna try and like put them in the woods a bit more.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah.
good. I mean, I don't think I've seen a depiction of like because obviously we're seeing it through like an animated lens, so they're
Mm.
getting to the target and they're spending time with these vast, these different characters. But if you actually zoomed out and looked at the map, it would be like these individual houses spread out, kilometers apart.
I've started drawing maps to try and
Is
see.
it is it based on because you live in Lismore now,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, is it based on encounters that you have in Lismore?
For sure. I think I work at a music shop, like an instrument shop, and yeah, we're right next to a tobacconist, and there's a lot of crazy tweakery people. But I guess you get to know them in a small town, and a lot of
Mm.
their silliness feeds into what I
Yeah,
do.
I mean, it's kind of like maybe the equivalent, maybe not right now, but like the equivalent of this podcast too, Like there's a lot of out there people on it that, people might consider to be quite outlandish at first. And then when you sit down with them and get to know them, they're actually chillers.
There you
But
go.
yeah, your show does give off like vape shop energy vibe now that I think
Oh,
about
yeah.
it.
I hope not. In the future, vape shops are there's some weird ones. They keep popping up in our town, in our little town. And, well, there's more floods, so we get like a really bad flood every now and then all the places are pretty cheap and high risk. So of course, you know, those money laundering kind of dodgy setups pop up like everywhere.
Now we're talking about the real shit. Thank you. Now we're talking about the stuff that matters. Vape shops, and the ethics behind them. Yeah, for a second I thought that the floods were, for some reason, discriminating against vape shops exclusively and targeting them. And I was like, how does that
Oh yeah,
work?
no, yeah,
But that's good.
got
It's good to
bad.
know that, everyone gets flooded. So. There's a ton of vape shops here, including one that my friend worked at, and he was supposed to be
Hmm.
sleeping in the vape shop when it got firebombed. So that's all I will say in regards to
Wow.
that anecdote. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Does he
over
own the
there it
place?
seems like the threat is, hey.
He owned the place? Like, why was he sleeping in the shop?
No, he did not own the place, and that is
Okay.
probably as far as I go with the conversation. No, he just worked there.
Yeah.
But he is okay, which is nice, and
That's
the
good.
vape shop is not okay, which is nice. I mean, do you personally vape? I don't.
No, no. I'm non not addicted to anything.
So are you straight edge as well?
Straight edge, yeah. I was wondering if it was
Cool,
okay to say
cool.
straight edge.
Yeah, no, me too. And I find that a lot of people, especially I think with the stuff that you do and the stuff that I do, they kind of assume that you have to be on something to think in a
Yeah.
particular way. But it's quite the opposite, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It always bothers me when people ask like, um, well they'd make it about sort of drug taking when it's imaginative. I do think a lot of the people around me, have done psychedelics and things, and maybe their collective energy also influences my characters a bit. But yeah, I would never say to someone that you need to like try any substance to tap in. I
No,
think yeah,
I think people assume. I mean, on your stuff, it's on various levels because you have the wizard stuff, and people assume that psych rock and all that has to be connected to that. You know,
for
when
sure, yeah.
you look at people like Frank Zappa, who are absolutely straight edge, and they
Mm,
made some of the most mind bending albums ever.
for
So
sure.
I think a lot of it, I don't, I get this shit all the time, so don't be offended. But the big Les stuff, even with our
Yeah,
animation style
yeah,
in the
for sure.
potty when Gabby
I
animates.
think I think when it's Australian as well, people that's they're instantly trying to think of like the two Aussie animators, which is Michael Cusack and Jared Wright. It's like those are the only
Yeah,
guys, right? But
yeah.
um,
Do you enjoy Big Les?
I love Big Les.
You love
Yeah,
Big Les? Okay, well, it's good to know that you can be straight edge and enjoy it. Because me, my housemates watch it all the time, and I'm sitting there
yeah.
racking my brain, going, what don't I understand? You know?
I think well, Big Les for me feels like home. Like
Mm,
it's right down. Like it's set in Tweed, which is like really close to where I grew up. Uh, and yeah, it's super familiar. Like it's got the same mountains that I grew up around and stuff, and it's got like the Sasquatches is like everyone in Nimbin, which is the town I grew up near. Like yeah, and I think the story it definitely a lot of the drug humor does get in the way, but I think when it overrides like the finale and stuff is very beautifully put together as a
yeah,
story.
I'll have to check it out. I've just seen it. I, I'm like, I immigrated to Australia when I was 4. So
Yeah.
I still have trouble coming to terms with the fact that I'm Aussie,
Mm.
now. And yeah, but that show, for me, what interested me about that show, and I don't know anything about it at all.
Mm.
I couldn't tell you who anybody is except for the Sasquatch, who I feel like I've got beef with on a personal level. Um, because, yeah, but it's like the Flash creative kind of vibe. Like back when I was in year 7 or
Mm.
8, people were doing
Yeah.
like everything from like using a software called Pivot to make stick
Mm.
figure animations, if you're familiar with that,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah. I've made
um,
pivot.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then Flash, and then all these other little kind of apps, and the Neo Cities kind of personalized
Yeah.
internet kind of vibe.
And I think Flash also back then because it was the first like thing in the hands of in terms of like digital creation tools, for uh, angsty teenagers. This was just to make the most shock value stuff you could, which is what
Yeah,
Newgrounds is like known for, and that.
I was gonna say Newgrounds would have been perfect.
Yeah.
It's funny how it's all come full circle when Newgrounds has become like this. I mean, as an adult now, when
Mm.
I spent my whole youth on Newgrounds as a kid, looking at it now and like how edgy and like unfiltered some of that stuff was, like it was probably the rawest you could get with the medium. And now
Yeah.
it's not really used. You know what I mean? The way that it used to. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that still popping off?
Newgrounds has. I don't go on it enough to say. I did open an account recently because I was like, just for like being cool sake, I wanted to have all of
That
Shermy's
one,
Forest
yeah.
on there. And then I think my internet went bad after uploading like one episode, and I
Really?
just forgot about it. But I think it's still got a bit of an active community. And I think if no one's watching your stuff, I think you're still going to get seen by and judged by other animators quicker on Newgrounds than you will trying to wait for the algorithm to put it out. So that is
Well,
actually a
yeah.
good tip for emerging animators. I reckon Newgrounds is a good place for that because people are quite critical on there. The few people that are still left on that side.
It's cool. Like there are still, even though we have so much oversaturation, I've been
Mm,
learning about like old internet theory and then the new internet theory, and I'm sure that
mm,
that's something that B would have discussed, and that kind of vibe of having like communities that are not that big, but at the same
yeah,
time they're wholesome and they're full of people. Like you don't need to have thousands and thousands of people on it. Quite the
that's
opposite,
right.
right? You're there to
Yeah,
connect on similar
for sure. Yeah,
interests.
I mean, yeah, and that's how I started. Like before, at the moment I'm posting clips on Instagram and they're picking up quite well. But I did Shermy's Forest episode 1 as like my final school project in multimedia, and I made a NeoCities website about it, and I got like um, after I uploaded the first episode, maybe 3 days in, it did well on YouTube. But those first 3 days was just like, I'm really happy with. I mean, I was really just hoping to maybe end up in like a niche place like that, maybe like 100
Yeah.
or so people who really care about it. That's always um valuable to me. That's what I liked about Neo Cities.
We do really have a niche. I say we. I don't animate. I draw, and I want
Mhm.
to. I think maybe in a years from now, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
on my Ralph Bakshi, bullshit, and like
Mm.
really doing my own, little Walt Disney Empire. I kind of already am doing that through this potty and through my
Mhm.
other work, but I've always worked with animators. But
Yeah.
when people sort of think about animated, like again, and I want to go into this in a second, like how you actually script out the conversations that
Mm.
you're animating it. In the case of what we're doing right now, we're doing it, and then
For sure.
Gabby will go out or somebody will go out and animate it to that. But there's not a lot of people who are doing that under like an Australian lens. So we
Mm.
are very much operating on a niche, and maybe they're all on Newgrounds, and I'm just not seeing them, or maybe they're on like a NeoCities thing. But that's
Yeah.
the thing that kind of struck me about your stuff, and why I think it's doing really well. Besides like the
Mm.
humor and the art style, is that it does resonate.
Mm.
Because for as much as Michael Cusack and a lot of those other creators did such a big boom, there
Mm.
hasn't been a hell of a follow up in
Yeah.
other fields. It's kind of been its own thing. So it's cool. That's immediately why I hit you up.
Yeah. I think the most important thing, because I think about this all the time, I'm like, why isn't there that like it seems like the United States is full of people who can express themselves and make like these really great niche cartoons and stuff. But I think the main thing that Australian media needs, whether that's animation, whether that's looking to make films and stuff, is like authenticity. Like there's so many few pieces of media made here that I can point to that go, that really makes me feel like at home or like I'm in, a new exciting environment.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I can maybe point to like a few films from the 90s that, were Australian films that make me feel good. Like, Two Hands, Strictly Ballroom, Priscilla. I can't name many more. We don't get much funding to make stuff here.
It's cool that you
Mm.
named those movies. Two Hands, from memory, was set in New South Wales, right? I
Yeah,
believe.
Sydney. Yeah,
Yeah, whereas like I'll watch Two Hands and I'll be nostalgic because of Heath Ledger. He came up in a
yeah.
movie I was watching the other day, Lords of Dogtown, and it like scared the shit out of me. I was like, I didn't know he was in this like indie ass movie about skating. But yeah, like for me, it's almost not even just nostalgia for like something I lived in, but nostalgia
Mm.
for a previous kind of era of punk. Like when I watch
Yeah.
Dogs in Space, because that was
Mm.
filmed here in Richmond. And so like I'll get that same feeling that you're talking about, kind of like
For sure.
yeah, early teens, maybe even before that kind of vibe.
Mm.
And there's not a lot of representation of that in general, unfortunately.
Yeah. I feel like that it's very dry, the landscape. And like, I think, yeah, people need to be like really trying to get stuff made. Like
Yeah.
anyone who's listening, they need to make cartoons, and
That's it. That's it.
it's
I mean,
about the things that matter to them and really tapping into like environments. I'm big on like environments at the moment, which I feel like I'm lacking in my cartoon. I need to make it more homey.
But even the idea of an environment, like most listeners might think landscape. But
Mm,
actually, I feel like what you're talking about is a bit bigger than that. You know, it's not just a
yeah,
place, it's the representation of that place with the people in it and the sort of
yeah,
the syntax of the conversations that they're having and
mm,
how that localizes where you are, you know, being able to relate to something. Because obviously, if you draw a smiley face with eyes and a mouth, anybody can see
mm.
their face in that. You know,
It's
it's
got a vibe.
universal. But if you make it more and more niche and look like your
Mhm.
face or my face, less people are interested. It happens a lot with music. The more
Yeah,
personal you write about something, unless you strike gold with a love song that just happens to translate, you know, about someone's name or some bullshit. But yeah, the more
yeah,
personal, the more niche, which again is the greatest pursuit in art, is of the
mm,
idea of finding something that hasn't been done and people being able to kind of see themselves in that rather than just doing things that people know and expect.
yeah,
You know, treading new
absolutely.
ground is a risk, but it's the ultimate
Mm.
payoff. You know?
Yeah, I think, and you got to be so selective, and yeah, that's why I really like David Lynch. I feel like he's really narrowed down, like in his films, how
Mm.
you can, uh, you can take a few small things and, but they're deeply rooted in your, in your consciousness, and they will make you feel emotions.
Yeah,
As
yeah,
simple
for
as they are.
sure.
Like none of his films are like horror films, but they can all easily make you feel scared and unsettled, which,
Yeah, he really the whole Lynchian angle of being able to tap into that feeling. You know, he
mm,
got it. He understood how to bring that feeling, and I don't have any other ways to describe it. Like, I feel like nightmarish isn't quite right. Like, there is an element
mm,
of that, but there's also something else, and I think it's best depicted in. There's a movie I haven't watched the movie, but I think it's in Mulholland Drive. There's this trash
mm.
man or this
Yeah,
dude covered in
of
shit
course.
or whatever, and that that is probably peak artistry.
Did you watch that
As
in?
a non-Lynch stan, still,
Yeah.
you know, I haven't watched any Twin Peaks. I've only watched Blue
Mhm.
Velvet. I think it's great,
Oh
but
yeah.
that trash man will go down in history as a goat.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you should definitely check out Twin Peaks. And yeah, I'm sort of uh, I don't know. Another thing is like people. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm trying to get too like inspirational with it, but
Do it. This is the
I want to
fucking
see
place to
more.
do it. You know, like
I want to see people making more, like trying to make things more authentic. A lot of people look at something like Big Les even and think that the thing that's connecting with audience is the like drug humor, which like partly yes, because obviously that's their niche. But for me, I really like the characters and how they make me feel as well. And so it's like, and obviously not everyone sees it, but I think at the core of every good successful story, that's what's happening. It's not like the surface level aesthetic. It's not, all those things make up a great piece of media, but there's some, there's
yeah,
depth. It's got to be
100%.
rich.
And I think like even just for me the reel that really got me. I mean, there's a character that has three eyes and is kind of like a goth. What's that character called?
Beatrice.
I can imagine that being like, and that's what I want to know, like a conversation that you actually had that you either put the phone on record
Mm.
and improvised it, or it was a random convo then you went back to. How was that recorded? That those like
I
lines.
I usually script most of it, but what
Really?
happens is like, yeah, so I mean, I guess in that scene where they're like, they're struggling to understand the difference between a wizard and a warlock is that was I wrote in brackets, struggle to talk about the difference between. And so yeah, she did sort of, I just got her to rant for like a solid half minute to a minute, and then I chop them up, a lot of the improvisation, and a lot of the time I just write stuff and I'll then show people in the recording time, and they'll be like, it doesn't land well at all, and then we improvise as like a saving measure. But I kind of always think it's going to work. Like I'd never, leave anything, like I never risk it, you know what I mean? I always have everything set out in the script. And if I'm not, if I can't like read it and think that that's a really good episode, then I won't, show it to
No,
the
I know what you mean about it landing. You know, one of
actor.
the things that I really like is obviously these episodes go for an hour. sometimes this isn't going to be that situation. This will be an hour, but I've had them go for 4 hours, and I've had to
Yeah.
trim that down to three and then two.
Mm.
And but that was a very particular situation with a particular person with the band Hong Kong Fuck You. But in general, getting that hour and then listening in and trying to find the bit that
Mm.
lands and translates the best to an animation is always so interesting. And eventually you develop a talent in itself at curating that
Mm.
section and really chopping it. And even when you're editing, just the beats, because
Yeah.
sometimes the beats are natural, but
Yeah.
sometimes the punchline doesn't come till another
Yeah.
45 seconds. So you really are just like
Yeah.
changing and doctoring it.
The
Yeah,
gaps between dialogue make a huge difference. I noticed that. I do
huge.
it all in Ableton, and like
Me
I
too.
do all the audio beforehand, and it's like, yeah, changing those gaps is huge.
That's dope to hear that you're an Ableton fan. I'm a huge
For
Ableton
sure.
fan. I've been around the HQ here and tried to go to the HQ in Germany as well. But we've had somebody who works at Ableton on the show as well. Uh,
That's awesome. Yeah.
so yeah, shout out to them. They're the fucking best. You can drag videos in it, can't you? Yeah, if you wanted
Yeah,
to
I
edit
want
some
to try
videos.
that feature at some point. I think it like for the sound effects, at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The vibe and the appeal of a lot of it. Like, I just put out a share house themed album, which
Yeah.
you listened to.
I've
Thank
done
you for
this.
that. And there's something about communal living works, like works of art that take place in a communal setting. There's a lot more. It's a niche, but there's a lot more than you would expect as well.
Mm.
The Holy Grail being he died with a falafel in his hand, which is
I've
like
been
the
recommended that film. I
yeah
haven't seen it yet. But
incredible book. Been trying to get the guy who wrote it on a podcast, but he only has Facebook, and so it's very difficult to get in contact with the guy. But he almost said yes.
yeah.
But in terms of that, I really get that sharehouse communal vibe from your stuff, even though it's
Mm.
not strictly about people who live together. It's about people who journey together.
Yeah.
But is it like, do you live in a share house? Is it based off of those
No, I,
kinds of
I live with my
rambles?
parents still, but all those characters are my friends that I ask to be on the show, or that they'll ask a lot, and then I'll have to work out how to put them in. And so, yeah, I think a lot of that awkwardness that you hear in the voices, and also a lot of like the silliness, comes from them just being regular people and not really knowing what to expect. You know what I mean? They're not at all. They haven't like trained to do this.
No, and that's what
Um,
makes it so endearing. You
yeah,
know,
for sure.
being put in a position that you're not prepared for, but still
Mm.
giving it your everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which is really, really cool and rare. And it goes back to that whole thing about like, yeah, not being media trained. For me,
Mm.
one of the cool things about this potty is while it's not inherently me going, I'm a journalist, at any
Mm.
point in time.
For sure.
Usually I'm fighting against that. Ultimately, it ends up being that through an informal lens,
Yeah,
which,
absolutely.
if you see kind of through it. And I think that that's always going to be more, especially to animate, always going to
Mm.
be more endearing than if I was trying to be something or if I worked for a particular company and tried to kind of spin an angle, where it's just two people talking, which is
Yeah,
always fun.
all the joy is in like unexpected stuff, I think. Always.
Yeah. Have you, in the series, have you killed off any characters yet? Are you in the process of killing anyone off? And if you do, I'm curious what your friends would say. Would you give him another chance to be another character?
I've killed off one character and then had them come back to life. Florian. He goes into like
Oh, right, yeah.
like the spirit world, the glodge.
He does the whole like Han Solo thing, right? Where he gets like frozen alive or whatever. Like something happens to him, right? He's on the
Yeah,
table.
I suppose it is a
True.
bit like Han Solo. I didn't think of that.
It's
Yeah,
literally.
he gets zapped. But yeah, that's so. I suppose that I knew he wasn't dead though. I wasn't even really thinking there'd be a big sort of suspense to find out what happens to him. But like I didn't think anyone watching would really care.
Did
But
the guy who did you voice him as well?
Florian is voiced by my friend Sol, who's also Milosh. So the really bad American voice of the Green Wizard and the Flower are the same guy
Oh, true.
talking to himself.
Okay, so he had another character to fall back on.
Yeah, exactly. And to exist in scenes with, in the spirit realm.
Yeah, because people don't talk about that. Like, if you get killed in an animation, it's like being killed in like a TV show. You know what I mean? Like that's it
Mm.
for your character, unless you're voicing multiple characters. But sometimes you might just have a voice for one character. I reckon I've only got a voice for one character, to be
Yeah.
honest, and that's myself. But maybe I'm
Yeah,
being too modest. Um, do you have the Shermy hat with you?
I do. I
I'm
mean,
not going to ask you to put it on. I just ask because I'm always interested by people who do mixed media stuff, especially with
mm,
animation. And I saw that you had a plush of the Florian character as well, right? And some
yeah,
sort of
my girlfriend Eva made that, which for Christmas, which was amazing. It was like the
yeah,
coolest thing I think I pulled out of wrapping paper. It was like
which is amazing.
surprise.
Is the Shermy hat for sale?
No, I wouldn't. That I feel like I need it, and and that would be like maybe a bit. I don't know, ego-y. I've had people tell me to do that. I wouldn't want to like. Would you like to buy one?
Yeah, I'd love to buy one.
Yeah.
I would love to buy a Shermy hat.
So my
Where
friend.
I'm in the process of I'm a big I'm not a hat guy in the sense that
uh
I don't wear hats usually, but if I play a show, like I played a
Well,
show
yeah,
as
I think it could help with your gigs a lot.
I would love to wear a Shermy hat, you know what I mean, and just like
Yeah.
advertise what you do through a gig. Because the last show we played, we did a Wizard of Oz themed show, even
Mm,
though it wasn't really about the Wizard of Oz, it was about the band of sharehouse people
mm,
discovering that the guy behind the curtain is like, the music industry was never real. You know what I mean? And
mm.
that's what we find behind the curtain. But we were all dressed up as, Wizard of Oz people looking for different things, income, whatever, all sorts of bullshit. Each person had a different thing. But I love
That's
hats, and I'm a big hat guy, especially wizard looking hats. Even in
mm.
my band, the character has the hat from Holy Mountain, which has similar
Oh,
vibes
true.
to the
Yeah.
Shermy hat. The Shermy hat's kind of like a traffic cone, right?
Yeah, it's like a big orange traffic cone. I think so. Yeah, I got that hat made by my brother's girlfriend, Charlotte. She runs the um, Underbite Girl label in Brisbane.
True.
She makes
True.
teeth bikinis. And I was hassling her like for a party where I was going to go as Shermy. I was like, "Oh, can you help me make?" Because I don't know how to sew. I was like, "Oh, you can help me." I was watching a YouTube tutorial, and she ended up making the whole thing. And I was like, "Oh, we should sell these." And she was like, "No, I'm not making more."
It
But
would be cool. I think merch like that, if it's sustainable, or like even sustainable for you to
mm,
be able to not pump them out, but have limited runs. I
yeah,
think that
absolutely.
would be such a vibe. That's the kind of stuff that I get really excited about. When you go
Mm,
on a website and you find out that they sell random niche stuff that you just can't get anywhere else.
for sure. I really want to make a lamp sometime, like a Shermy lamp, maybe.
That would be fucking sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know there's an actor, kind of off topic, and I don't even think I should mention it on this podcast. There's an actor called Vincent Gallo who sells his,
Oh, of course. His
his.
website is so cooked.
Yeah,
It's like,
I'm gonna
that
get
guy
like,
is
I'm not
fucked in
monetized,
that.
but I feel dirty when I talk about it, and like I feel like I'm gonna get demonetized. I mean, I'm trying to get him on the potty. It's obviously fucking
Really?
impossible to get Vincent Gallo on, a stupid podcast, but
What's he even doing now? I mean, I
he's
find him quite repulsive, but I love Buffalo 66. Like
fuck if it isn't a
it's pretty
good ass
cool.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, is he good in anything? We shouldn't be plugging him, but his solo albums that he
Mhm.
does are fucking
Like
amazing,
pretty piano songs.
beautiful,
Yeah.
and nobody talks about him. And they're like
Well, everyone
incredible.
finds it on like Spotify, which is weird. Like there'll be random people's playlists, and I'm like, that says Vincent Gallo. I'm like,
Yeah, it's such a good yeah, his like music is fantastic. I think
mm,
subconsciously has definitely inspired some of the more ambiental stuff that I've been
mm,
working on as well. But also he directed videos for like John Frusciante and stuff. He's in the movie
true.
Benicio del Toro plays him in the movie Basquiat. Like
True, I
he
haven't
plays
heard.
him in that movie because he was mates with John Michel Basquiat as well, which is he's had a
Oh, of
crazy
course, yeah.
crazy fucking career.
I have seen that film. That what he was. So he was a character in it. I've
So
only
he was
I
mates
skimmed.
with Basquiat in real life, and Benicio del Toro plays him in the movie.
True, yeah. That was cool
Which,
seeing Bowie as Warhol, but I only watched a bit of it. But our art teacher put it on.
yeah,
Um,
I don't think I've seen the full movie, but Bowie
yeah,
does do a fucking good job as
yeah,
Warhol.
yeah.
Although I feel like the voice he's doing is just Bowie from memory. Like I felt like there was like he looked like
Mm,
Warhol, but I didn't. He was just being Bowie for the whole fucking thing. So
yeah, for sure. I loved everyone in Twin Peaks too. Yeah.
true. What does he do in Twin Peaks?
He's a like he goes crazy. He's like an FBI agent that's gone crazy, and he comes in to the room, and he's like he starts saying this weird cryptic shit that doesn't get confirmed until literally 25 years later when they make the final season.
That sounds about right, man. Shout out to Bowie.
Bad boom.
Who would you say? Because your music and your art, because you also
Mm.
play in a band as well.
Yeah.
Who would you say is your kind of like, firstly your music inspirations, and secondly your art inspirations at the moment?
I find it hard to like. Oh, at the moment, that's cool. Um, I've been like sort of unironically enjoying geese quite a lot, to be honest. And
Good time for it now that everyone's discovered it was a psyop. Now you're really cool.
yeah, exactly. I still no. I found out about them like you know before they were cool. No, I've been listening to a little bit of Wayne. I couldn't name songs. What else? Angine de Pointrine, like all the
Yeah.
popular
Yeah,
things that music people talk
they're
about.
probably a psyop too, but my
Yeah,
main I was avoiding them for ages because I don't like to jump on hype too quick. Same with Geese. I spent
sure.
a long time before I listened to them just to
Mm,
see what the deal is, really kind of sniff it
yeah,
out. And the Angine, whatever the fuck, that group was crazy. Like I avoided it until my housemates played it on TV the
yeah,
other day, and I couldn't stop watching for the entire like
yeah.
hour.
It is truly mesmerizing. I
It's
think
great.
it's a
It's
lot
so
of fun.
fun.
Yeah,
It's it, I tried to listen to the recordings on Spotify. It didn't do it for me. It needed the visual component. But
yeah,
the live at KXP one is a lot of fun. A lot
for
of fun.
sure.
And that's the thing about a lot of this stuff is like it's great art. It's just so saturated. You know what I mean? By the
Yeah,
time it hits you, and then you have these
yeah,
great expectations when they're just artists that like if anybody locally released that, you'd be like, oh, that's amazing.
for
But
sure. I mean, I
yeah.
mean, they're so pushed that I, panicked and said that that's what I'm enjoying at the moment. It's that kind of a thing. I got
Feel
like,
like guilt or like shame
yeah, I've been
in
enjoying
regards to just enjoying.
my Pink Floyd CD in the car. That's been good. Uh, I think it's "Wish You Were Here." What's that album?
The one with the dude on fire, yeah?
"Dude on Fire." It's
Dude on
great.
Fire, my favorite Pink Floyd album. Yeah, it is literally called that, right? It is. It's
"Dude
called
on
that.
Fire."
Dude
Yeah,
on Fire is not what it's fucking called, man. I feel like they're British, they're more eloquent than us, They're not gonna call it that.
"Bloke on Fire."
Yeah, that's more like it.
Yeah,
That's
the old chap in flames.
yeah, Chap in Flames, my favorite Pink Floyd. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been on a Pink Floyd thing. I actually tangent. I fell asleep the other day, and it felt very much like a Jeffrey Dahmer. I haven't seen the show, but I have
Mhm.
you seen the Jeffrey Dahmer TV show?
Yeah, my
Or
friend put it on once, and
there we go. So have you got forced onto it? Have you seen the memes where he forces the guy to watch TV?
yes,
So
well, yes, I've seen that.
I
Oh
basically
yeah,
fell I basically fell asleep, and one of my flatmates played the entire Pink Floyd discography from
yeah,
start to finish while I was asleep. And so when
mhm.
I woke up, I absorbed all that information. Do you know what I
There
mean?
you
But
go.
I don't have
Yeah.
a recollection of actually sitting down and listening to it. Isn't that
Mm.
crazy? I think it's insane.
I think it's insane. Falling asleep to albums is very it's a whole other way to listen to it. What's this? Wade, I don't know how to pronounce it. Wade Haraguzo. If you might have
What? Where
justice.
the
Ever seen this cover?
I never seen
Wade
that cover. Is that where's that from?
WEDEHARERGUZO for anyone listening, because it was a good thing to fall asleep to. It's like some chill.
Does it say where the artist is from?
Or
Or is it one of those mysterious Spotify things you
it's,
gotta go?
it's fairly popular. This guy, I don't want to assume.
Yeah.
He did an album called Tezita as well. That would
Okay.
be on a lot of people's.
I'll check it out after the show for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. My friend recommended it to me. That's like just the sleep album now every night, pretty much. It's like repetitive and
And
easy.
and and what about like you said you were in art school or no, not art school,
Oh
sorry.
yeah,
You
high
did an
school.
art class.
Yeah, HSC art class.
Did like do you have any of like like visual art influences?
Yeah, of
Fine art
course.
influences?
Yeah, I'm big on like old MTV cartoons. Like, I really enjoyed Downtown and the Max. They've been really interesting lately. And then stuff like, I don't think this is MTV territory. Maybe Dr. Katz,
Oh yeah.
professional therapist.
Old school.
Yeah, super,
Yeah.
like super.
Super old
That's where I
school.
kind of get the wobbly lines from, sort of that and home movies, and online Vune, uh, into kind of into Vune's old stuff. Um, what else have I seen? I love anime like Serial Experiments Lane.
True.
I don't know if you're big on anime
I
stuff.
mean,
The
yeah, I mean,
Studio Ghibli stuff.
do I look like like I'm big on anime?
I feel like it's diversified in
It
the
has, hasn't it? And I also
last
look like
few
I could
years.
enjoy, a good anime every now and then.
Mm,
I grew up on it,
yeah.
but as to whatever, you just said, I couldn't even repeat it. You know what I mean? Like,
It's a fairly hidden sort of show. I love Adventure Time. Obviously, that was like the core
yeah.
influence, and like because that was the first cartoon I was like exposed to as a kid that really like blew my mind in terms of how funny something could be and how like bent and creative. And yeah, that was the biggest inspiration for me, was Adventure Time.
Yeah, see, I'm from like the SpongeBob SquarePants generation.
Mm, yeah,
And a lot of Nickelodeon, even though it's not so favorable now, like Drake and Josh and like that shit. That's kind of
for sure.
so. I feel like yeah, and Adventure Time kind of came a little bit after
A
that.
little after,
Um,
yeah.
and I was a Cartoon Network guy. I was big on like My Kids Next Door,
Yeah.
Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Nobody
Were you
fucking
into
talks about that.
Were you into Samurai Jack? I enjoyed
Yeah,
that as a kid.
dude.
Yeah,
Now we're speaking the same lingo.
that
Yeah, I
was cool
fucking
because it was
love
like
Samurai Jack.
exposing like young people to um like a slower format of storytelling,
Mm.
which I was super into when I was like 10 or something.
Yeah, Samurai
It
Jack was very
wasn't on
much
TV,
a
but
meditative show
yeah.
for sure. There wasn't really a lot of stuff that was that slow paced. Um, also, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Nobody seems to
Mhm.
talk about that anymore and stuff. That might have been before your time as well.
All of it
I'm not too
before,
sure.
but that's
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah,
but
that's
yeah, definitely check that out if you can. I don't know where people go to watch. I guess YouTube, right? If you wanted to watch like old
yeah.
stuff.
Most stuff. Archive.org. It's a good
Yeah.
place.
Because they used to be video games. Like you could play weekly video games to all of these shows, and every week you
That's
would wait
cool.
and like get excited about a new upload or whatever.
The new,
Um,
wow, yeah,
on Cartoon
that's cool.
Network, on the website, which
Yeah,
was super sick.
that's
And
sick.
it makes me wonder. I have seen like a desktop game of yours where there's a giant eye. Am I like imagining
That
this?
was yeah, that was a video I did in the style of a game.
But it wasn't actually a video game.
Not actually a game. I've been experimenting with 3D again more, and I think I might venture into that
Hmm.
eventually. But yeah, I that sounds cool. I like the idea of, I feel like we're missing a lot of that where sort of franchises are like interconnected with like cool things. Like this is the movie and now we're gonna make a game of the movie. Like that sort of thing doesn't
Yeah, dude.
really go
I
down as
I used
much.
to go. This was definitely before your time, but I used to go when Yu-Gi-Oh the movie was a thing.
Mm,
I went into the cinema and they gave you limited edition Yu-Gi-Oh cards at the
yeah,
fucking cinema.
yeah, exactly. It's a like creative marketing and stuff.
That would never happen, dude. Like now you go to McDonald's and you get a fucking what do you get? Like a ASAP Rocky meal or some bullshit.
Mm.
Like what? What's the guy? Who do we have? What's our pop guy? The Kid Leroy, like Kid Leroy. burgers and fries or some bullshit.
Mm,
Like,
too
oh, and
serious.
they had I think they had Friends like toys now that you
Mm.
can buy. I'm not endorsed by Macca's. I'm still recovering from McDonald's actually from the other night. Shout out to South Bank Macca's, the shadiest fucking place at
Oh
3
man.
a.m.
Yeah, I don't really eat from McDonald's, but I think they kind of have a responsibility now to appeal to you guys in a nostalgia sense, maybe.
But
If
they
they're
put
doing
it as like
friends meals,
they put it as a kids meal, like a kids meal.
yeah.
Like it's kind of interesting.
Maybe
Like
you're the kid now. Like, well,
I'm the
still,
kid
you're
again.
still the kid, so they're just selling to you. They're like, this guy bought our shit. We'll keep.
No, like kid's gonna buy a fucking, and that's the question. Is like, it's a bit soon after what happened to like Chandler Bing to be like
Because they're
chucking out a toy of him.
they're addicted to watching iPad stuff. Maybe they don't care for toys anymore. Do you think kids like toys?
Oh shit! So the toys are for us or for me?
Well, the toys aren't for anyone new.
The toys are for old people.
Yeah, because if before your toys came wooden toys, came maybe not many
Oh
toys at all.
shit! So for maybe for your generation, it would be like Fortnite DLC or something like
Yeah,
that.
well,
Like
actually, like a lot of my friends' younger siblings get excited about Fortnite skins more than like real shit. I don't know. Like,
I think we're speaking too much real. You know what I mean? I think that
mm,
like someone's gonna hear this and try to shut it down. I would definitely
yeah, they might.
fortify your house, to make sure no
Absolutely.
clowns get in.
I will.
I will do the same. Well, actually, I should not say that. I should not say
Yeah,
that.
that's
I should not say that, and I should
the
edit
share house
that
man just
out of my
revealed that
fucking thing.
he's
Yeah, that was really bad. Really
listen
bad,
to my
and
share house album and now
no,
know
no, and I feel like if you listen to the Share House album, which I'm not going to plug anymore, this isn't about me. It's just
it's the end
coincidentally
of the
happening at the
campaign.
same time.
Yeah,
Synchronicity. But if you listen to the album, you probably could piece together where I am living. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? I'm
yeah.
not.
I've definitely got some notes already
You
on
know
that.
where it's at. Yeah, you recognize the background behind me and this lamp
Yeah,
on
I've
my
seen
right.
that
You've
lamp.
seen it before. You're a guitar pedal salesman as well.
Oh shit, not anymore. I deleted that highlight.
You
But
deleted it.
Facebook in Lismore is rough. So what I do is I put things I want to sell on my story, to get it out there. Which, and I was selling off all my guitar pedals, and someone asked me to sign one, which was pretty crazy.
Did
Um,
you sell all of them? What did you sell?
I sold a Strymon, El Capistan, 2,
Yeah.
a Big Muff, what else? A few other pedals. Gone
Yeah.
blank.
Are you in the market for a Boss DS1?
I'm not, sadly. I work at a guitar shop. We've got a lot of those.
You
But
don't
thank
want my one, even if I sign it?
well, that's kind of sweet though. That's cool.
I'll sell it to you. It's not that sweet. You know what I mean? But
That's true.
yeah, nobody wants to buy it. Guitar pedals are fucking so hard to sell to people, man.
Mm,
Um, I sell a lot of my gear to people that I live with, and it stays
yeah,
here. It's quite a smart thing I got going here.
absolutely. Me and my brother do that because we live in
Oh,
the same
really?
house. Yeah, he's like, let's go half and half on this amp, and then I'll buy his like sampler off him or something.
I always think of that Simpsons episode where they're in the treehouse and they buy that special like comic, a Radioactive Man, and they all
Mhm.
go four ways on it, and then it flies out, and it's just like, what do you do when someone loses or damages, or hogs
Something, yeah.
something that you share? There's not a lot of stuff. I think in my repertoire, probably just
Mm,
a capo. You know what I mean? At this
yeah,
point, like
that's
that's as
that's the
far as I
shout.
fucking go.
Mm, picks,
Um, yeah.
cables. I've got like two of my friends' cables, and he doesn't even believe um, well, the bassist in our band, he doesn't even believe they're his, and I'm like, okay, sure, I'll keep them.
Kind of like that sometimes, and also guitar stands as well. Like they just
Mm,
kind of fucking trade places and shit. You know,
yeah,
that's just like you would know if you were like missing a guitar, but you won't really know if it's your lead unless you label it. No one's gonna be fucking labeling a lead unless you're that person. There's nothing wrong
oh
with
yeah,
that. But
I think there is. I think if it says your name, if it's your band, I kind of get it. Like, because when
mm,
you're packing up after the other band, that's one thing. But yeah, I think being like, this is Oscar's cable, that's crazy.
no, it's everybody's cable. You know what
It's
I mean?
everyone's
For the
cable.
night, it's my cable when I forget to bring my actual cable,
Hmm.
non-labeled. Um, but yeah, thank you for chatting to me. The only other thing I would ask of you is the same thing I ask of everyone at the end.
Um,
I've probably asked it 80 times now, although this is episode. I'm actually going to butcher it. I don't know. I think this is like 73.
True.
We'll see.
There you go.
But we'll see in post when I like insert my voice deeply to
Mhm.
correct the fact that it's probably 74. Who's to say? But anyway, the question is, what piece of advice would you give up and coming creatives?
Well, to round it off, like this is an essay or a podcast, I'll say, um, be authentic and don't worry about who's looking at your stuff. Just try and emulate your favorite styles and bring whatever you can from your own world and your imagination into what you make. That's like
Yeah,
very obvious stuff.
that's no, and sometimes the obvious stuff is the most important stuff. Sometimes
Yeah,
obvious stuff, you just know at the right point in your life to intercept it, you know? And
to
then later you're
understand.
like, that's what like my folks were saying, you know, or that's
Mm,
what that expression means. It happens more and more to me every day, the older I get. But I think that's, yeah, particularly the last part of what you said is really important too. Just like your experience that you have is actually
mm,
so unique. And
yeah.
there's very few people who take that experience and put it
Mm,
out for display.
yeah.
And that's what makes your work so good, you know, and so
Mm,
enjoyable for me as like,
yeah.
somebody who likes to watch it, who's found
For
out
sure.
about you recently. And it's also what makes a lot of the stuff that I do, including the podcast, enjoyable
Yeah,
too. And
totally.
to be original isn't it is a talent, it
Mm,
is a skill, but it's
yeah.
something that you can hone into and you get better at it.
Yeah,
And it just
exactly.
means everyone's creative, so you just get better at becoming yourself. And in
Absolutely.
that, becoming yourself is such a difficult skill to develop because people don't do it even outside of creativity. You don't just say you don't pursue creativity, and we're going off on a
Mhm.
fucking tangent when I should be wrapping this up. But say you became like a Wall Street banker or whatever,
Yeah,
you're not necessarily going to find out who you are that way. You know what I mean?
no.
And you might go your whole life without doing it. Maybe you do find
Mm,
out that you're just really good at that and you discover attributes of who you are outside of the profession through
mm,
the job. But through creativity, you can also do that in a different way that's not related to commerce, usually. Sometimes, unless it gets too mixed up. So
that's yeah.
definitely, yeah, representing your experiences, the conversations that you have when you get coffee with your friends. I value that stuff so much, the older I
Yeah,
get,
that's
so
really good
much
to
more.
learn to tap into. And then I think with like actual, like if you're just a beginner, just try and emulate styles. Like just try and
For sure.
copy and steal, techniques and things that you like aesthetically, and then pair them with your own sort of authentic
And see
mind
where it
stuff.
goes. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? You don't have
yeah,
to commit to that style forever. Just start putting stuff out there and sort of
exactly.
you can curate it later. Years down the line, you
Yeah.
can delete an album, you can delete an episode.
Mm,
But if you don't start, you're not going to get there.
yeah.
And it is interesting as well, just the whole nature of having a conversation, how sacred that is, I think.
Mm,
Even the idea of
for
sitting
sure.
down with somebody through Zoom and you get a
Mm,
Melbourne guy with a Lismore guy and you have a chat, much like having coffee, with someone. And it's funny how, like, the comedians with cars and getting coffee, for me,
mm.
like, that didn't do it well at all because that just formalized the whole affair. Whereas, like, an informal conversation that people aren't supposed to hear is always going to be
Mm,
more rewarding, with your own
absolutely.
experiences too. So, anyway, thank you very much, my friend, for
Thank
spending the
you.
last hour with me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Mother's Day.
You too, man. Thank you so much for having me on.